All right, welcome in everyone. Hopefully the music is playing. Yes, I think it is. No, it's not. There we go. There we go. There we go. But shown in a box, welcome in. Alright, let me move the... Okay. Welcome in, everyone. Sorry, I always promote Den's 1000. He makes really good mixes. Homie is hella talented with the music. I love his music. I love his mixes. Does Rally House and a lot of video game music, so shout out to him. All right, let's get right into it, everyone. I hope everyone is having a fantastic, what is it, Wednesday, January 7th. Day after January 6th, 2021, historic day. Yeah. So. Okay. First things first, let's, hold on, I'm trying to make sure my vertical screen is good too. Vertical sources, there we go. Okay. Let's check out Hassan real quick while I get my stuff ready here, so that way he can fill us in on the latest stuff that is happening.
Like crying in the background with their dog, so I don't want to show it to you.
Yeah, we're not going to be covering the Minnesota stuff. I mean, yeah, Minnesota. But it sounds absolutely awful. Hold on, let me get the chat there on the side.
I'm trying to see the... Yeah, ICE did nothing to help the woman who they murdered. Only when MPD and fire got there, they carried the woman's lifeless body to the corner and gave her CPR.
What the
That's
frick?
Crazy. They literally had to come in on foot. You can see them carrying the victim, and they had to come in on foot.
That's crazy.
The paramedics had to come in on foot. That video, it shows the doctor trying to help her and later shows the EMT carry her off. What is this?
Nigga! Oh my god, I can't believe someone fucking stream sniped. I mean, debated him.
Bro, why are you fucking sending me dumbass links like that, man? The fuck is wrong with you?
Ban him. Ban him.
It's loud as hell, too. Oh, I can't fucking... It's so ridiculous.
A year
dude.
ago in Minneapolis.
Fox News is doing full-blown... By the way, unlimited coverage on this from Fox News.
Of course.
I know it's Hood Genius.
Okay. Hold on. Let's jump into some Maduro stuff. Oh my god, okay, fine. Let's watch the Philly D video real quick on this woman in her car who was killed by ICE.
In Minneapolis today. I just finished today's show, which you're still going to get here because there's a lot of news we have to dive through. And the details, they're still coming out because this just happened, but here's the setup. ICE officers were on a residential street and it looks like there were protesters there watching and recording. And a woman seemed to have her car in the middle
So
of the
like
road,
what people have been doing all the time to ICE.
Told her to get the fuck out of the car. She then
oh my god, they tried to
open. A little,
open.
before then going forward in her SUV, it's looking like she's trying to get away. And that's when, on one of the videos we see an officer near the left front of the car taking out his pistol and shooting her multiple times at essentially already point-blank range. The car then went a short distance before crashing into another parked car, and afterwards you had people just screaming.
You are f***ing criminals! You're f***ing criminals!
Jeez. All those ICE vehicles.
911, and the victim was pronounced dead. Right, again, this is still developing. There's not much we know other than she was a U.S. citizen. Also, since ICE killed this woman, more protesters have started to confront ICE agents and local officers on the scene, leading to tear gas being fired into the crowd. And eventually, you saw there was a sizable police force there, although ICE and federal agents have since left. Right, and the reactions and narratives here, depending on where
Scary
you go,
stuff for sure.
Different. Where you have the Trump administration already justifying the officers' actions, with Secretary of Homeland Security Kristi Noem saying at a conference,
ICE officers were out in an enforcement action. They got stuck in the snow because of the adverse weather that is in Minneapolis.
So then why were you doing
that?
that?
Their vehicle, and a woman attacked them and those surrounding them and attempted to run them over and ram them with her vehicle. An officer of ours acted quickly and defensively shot to protect himself and the people around him. And my understanding is that she was hit and is deceased. We're continuing to gather more information, but this goes to show.
What do you mean? That's your understanding.
The assaults that our ICE officers and our law enforcement are under every single day. These vehicle rammings are domestic acts of terrorism. We're working with the Department of Justice to prosecute them as such.
With many not surprised or going with that argument, as there is precedent for defending officers who use deadly force when a car is heading towards them in some way, even at slower speeds. But then also on the other side of this, you have a lot of people demanding some form of justice. We're saying that it looked like this woman was trying to turn to the side and get away. Saying at the very least, it looks like the second shot was taken from the complete side of the vehicle. You had Minneapolis City Council member Jason Chavez saying that the ICE agent that shot somebody should be arrested effective immediately. With him then going on to add that there needs to be community patrols to warn people about ICE raids and prevent kidnapping. Also, you have local prosecutors pushing hard for what they call a local investigation, which is the only way to ensure full transparency and review. Additionally, you saw Minneapolis police officers apparently seeing this coming, with Chief of Police Brian O'Hara saying yesterday, "I've been concerned for weeks that because the issue is so emotional, because frankly, some of the way this stuff has been carried out, the greatest risk to me is that there would be unrest or that there would be a tragedy. That somebody could get seriously hurt or killed because of what's happening." And finally, with the city's mayor demanding that ICE leave immediately, although he doesn't have the power to actually enforce that himself.
Get the fuck out of Minneapolis.
Wow.
We do not want you here.
That's the mayor? That's what the mayor of Minneapolis said?
Similar to one that happened in Chicago, where 2 people were arrested for boxing ICE in with their cars. One person there, Marimar Martinez, was accused of ramming her car into an ICE vehicle before getting shot multiple times. So there, she still managed to drive away before being seen by paramedics with relatively minor injuries. And while she and the other person were charged with assaults on federal employees, just 6 weeks later, the charges were dropped. With it seeming like the government decided to drop the charges rather than release the text messages of agents at the scene because they showed just how excited they were to shoot people. You know, here's what I'll say as this latest situation is developing. There is one thing that is clear. This isn't going to reduce the tensions that many people have with ICE raids. Or many of the people that have seen this video,
it's just going to escalate it and make it worse.
Continuing to call it
honestly, this has been a tragedy waiting to happen. It's been multiple times. I'm surprised it did not happen here in San Bernardino County, because that's where most of the crazy ICE things have been happening. I mean, we on this broadcast, we watched the other day when one of the ICE agents literally had a taser in one hand and a gun in the other, and he was dual wielding them at the same time. When proper cop protocol says, or I don't know cop protocol, but you're supposed to use the taser, the non-lethal force, before you use the lethal force. Why was homie dual wielding, both of those weapons? Like he was scared for his life almost. But these are just normal people. So yeah, this has been waiting to happen. It's more violence is going to happen because it's just going to be a continual escalation over and over of ICE versus the people that the city of the people that they are in.
Defense against an act of domestic terrorism. And that's the thing. Right now, we have an administration that has shown they have no problem, stretching the truth or outright lying if the propaganda game wins. And well, of course, with this story, I'd love to know your thoughts, opinions, and reactions to this news. That actually brings us to the first thing that I wanted to talk about today with you. Everything that you think you know about January 6th, it's a lie, right? All those brave folks who entered the Capitol that day, they were peaceful, patriotic protesters just exercising their First Amendment rights. But the Democrats, they masterfully twisted reality to brand them as insurrectionists. And that, even though the Democrats themselves are the real insurrectionists for certifying a fraudulent election. That in a nutshell, is how the Trump administration spun one of the worst assaults on American democracy during the event's 5th anniversary. We've seen Trump publishing an insane revisionist history on the official whitehouse.gov website yesterday, and the reactions to it, they've been just as crazy. And so let's dive into this, starting with Trump's speech that afternoon at the Ellipse. Because the White House, they claimed that he was blameless for what happened afterward, arguing that he emphasized the need to protest peacefully.
I know that everyone here will soon be marching over to the Capitol building to peacefully and patriotically make your voices heard.
But that, it was just one moment in the middle of an hour-long speech and a 3-hour-long event if you count all the other speakers. And as many have pointed out, and we're gonna bounce around the speech here, if you listen to the totality of it, the tone is anything but peaceful.
Our country has been under siege for a long time. We fight like hell. And if you don't fight like hell, you're not gonna have a country anymore. We're gonna walk down and I'll be...
Yeah. Marcella said, that is so silly. How can you take these men seriously? Exactly. I can't. You literally can't. They don't even take their own job seriously. You know? It's terrible.
There with you. We're going to walk down to the Capitol because you'll never take back our country with weakness. You have to show strength and you have to be strong.
Next up, the White House claims that the so-called patriots marched to the Capitol and that they were peaceful, orderly, and spirited, saying that it was actually the police who deliberately escalated tensions by aggressively firing tear gas, flashbangs, and rubber bullets into the otherwise peaceful crowd. Meanwhile, officers inexplicably removed barricades, opened doors, and even waved people inside of the building. Except, problem there, that's just not true, right? Some cops did lead rioters through the flimsy barricades, but that's because they were hopelessly overwhelmed by an enormous mob and they were trying to keep it under control. Right, and in truth, I don't know how many people have forgotten this, or, they've just listened to the lies so much, they have like this different image in the head. The rioters themselves climbed over walls and fences, they toppled barricades, they broke down doors, they shattered windows. And at this point in the White House's narrative, it's really not even clear which story they want to tell. Right, half the time, it's like all these patriots, they did nothing wrong. And then the other half of the time, it's like, actually, it was a violent riot, but the Democrats provoked it. In fact, it suggests that dozens of FBI assets inside of the crowd urged everyone else to break into the building. But as we've long known, those assets were just informants, not undercover agents, and there's no evidence anyone actually working for the FBI provoked the riot. Also, of course, the rioters were not peaceful. In fact, many of them were armed, or with reported weapons including guns, pepper spray, tasers, a sword, axes, hatchets, knives, destroyed office furniture, fencing, bike racks, stolen riot shields, baseball bats, hockey sticks, flagpoles, PVC piping, and reinforced knuckle gloves. And the police, they reportedly suffered cuts, bruises, sprains, concussions, rib fractures, irritated lungs, and one mild heart attack, not to mention mental trauma. With one officer getting knocked unconscious, one losing the tip of a finger, many more getting smashed in the head, and others choked, pepper sprayed, and tased. So in total, over 140 cops reported injuries, many of them having to go to the hospital.
Multiple capital injuries! Multiple capital injuries! Need to check. We are still taking metal, sharpened objects, missiles, to include bottles and rocks, and hand-thrown chemical-grade fireworks.
Yet according to the White House, no big deal. 0 law enforcement officers.
Yeah, see, so we're okay with harming law enforcement officers when it's, against Trump, right? But when law enforcement officers are carrying out Trump's will, those people can do any type of violence against anyone, no matter what, right? But when Capitol Police tries to stop Trump supporters from coming inside to the Capitol and preventing them from doing whatever they were going to do, that's not violent. That's okay. Violence against police. That's it. They can't have their cake and eat it too. I'm sorry. Trump supporters and MAGA cannot have their cake and eat it too. And that goes for Trump. Like, this is like basically Maduro behavior. This is what Maduro would do when he didn't like that the people were protesting against him. He would send out the colectivos to make it not a good time for the people protesting.
Officers lost their lives, I guess, because Trump doesn't care about the officer who suffered 2 strokes nearly 8 hours after being pepper sprayed and then died, nor I guess the 4 more who took their own lives in the days and months after January 6th. Plus, let's remember, if the rioters got their way, somebody else may have ended up in the gallows erected outside of the Capitol.
Yeah. Yep. These people thought they were serious.
The the Trump White House, of course, didn't mention any of that. Instead, it featured memorials to the
Oh,
several
hey,
so-called patriots
hey, Mom.
who died.
Selective
With that,
Blue
including
Lives
Ashley
Matter.
Babbitt,
That's
who
right.
The White House claimed was shot without warning, even though she, in their words, posed no threat. And with that, you have right-wing outlets like the Gateway Pundit and Live to TikTok now even claiming that the cop who shot her, Michael Byrd, runs an unaccredited daycare out of his home and pocketed $190 million in HHS funds. But one, childcare accreditation is optional where he lives. Two, that 190 million figure appears to be total nonsense. And three, Babbitt was at the head of a violent mob crawling into the speaker's lobby where cops were guarding lawmakers. With all that said, as far as the other narrative being pushed by the White House, that the whole riot was the Democrats' fault, they mostly pin the blame on then House Speaker Nancy Pelosi. With them pointing to footage that they claim shows her expressing regret for not accepting Trump's offer to send National Guard troops before the event.
For over 3 hours, we begged him to send the National Guard.
Yup. And why
Never
didn't
did
he?
it. He took joy.
He blamed
in
it
not
on
doing
Nancy.
Savoring that. And right now, he was saying on TV today, I wanted to send it, they just wouldn't do it. His own Secretary of Defense, acting Secretary of Defense, testified under oath against what the president is saying.
The huge thing, Trump didn't need her permission to send the National Guard, and in reality, he was sitting back watching events unfold on TV from his private dining room. In fact, Trump reportedly resisted pressure from his allies, advisors, lawmakers, and even his own daughter to call off the riot for over 3 hours, with also the Washington Post describing those 187 minutes as follows. 25 minutes into Trump's silence, a news photographer was dragged down a flight of stairs and thrown over a wall. 52 minutes in, a police officer was kicked in the chest and surrounded by a mob. Within the first hour, 2 rioters died as a result of cardiac events. 64 minutes in, a rioter paraded a Confederate battle flag through the Capitol. 73 minutes in, another police officer was sprayed in the face with chemicals. 78 minutes in, yet another police officer was assaulted with a flagpole. 83 minutes in, rioters broke into and began looting the House Speaker's office. 93 minutes in, another news photographer was surrounded, pushed down, and robbed of a camera. 94 minutes in, a rioter was shot and killed. 102 minutes in, rioters stormed the Senate chamber, stealing papers and posing for photographs around the dais. 116 minutes in, a 4th police officer was crushed in a doorway and beaten with his own baton. Meanwhile, the president was reportedly raging to people around him about the vice president. And his tweets only added fuel to the fire, starting with one that blasted Mike Pence for not having the courage to do what should have been done to protect our country and our Constitution. Then another tweet telling his supporters to support Capitol Police and stay peaceful as if they weren't already violent. And next, asking everyone at the Capitol to remain peaceful, adding no violence. Meanwhile, when GOP House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy called him, reportedly Trump claimed the rioters were Antifa, to which McCarthy was like, no,
there was lies all the way around.
Said, you know what I see, Kevin? I see people who are more upset about the election than you are. They like Trump more than you do. And then finally, after 3 hours, Trump finally posted this video.
I know your pain. I know you're hurt. We had an election that was stolen from us. It was a landslide election, and everyone knows it, especially the other side. But you have to go home now. We have to have peace. So go home. We love you. You're very special. I know how you feel. But go home and go home in peace.
With that reportedly being the best of at least 3 takes because he kept veering off the script that his staff had composed for him.
Yeah, the story is so crazy.
To get one that his aides felt was palatable enough to share with the public. But then still, the White House's revisionism isn't done. They also called the 2020 election the greatest election theft in U.S. history. In a section titled Betrayal of the President, they wrote, Vice President Mike Pence, who had the opportunity to return disputed electoral slates to state legislatures for review and decertification under the United States Constitution, chooses not to exercise that power in an act of cowardice and sabotage, and saying instead, Pence presides over the certification of contested electors, undermining President Trump's effort to address documented fraud and ending any chance to correct the election steal. Though still, after 5 years of playing whack-a-mole with these conspiracy theories, there's still no evidence the 2020 election was ever stolen. Nor are there any credible legal experts who believe that Mike Pence could have given Trump the win, and to this day, the former VP stands by that decision.
I will
Which is
always
crazy.
believe, by God's grace, I did my duty that day.
Yep. Against
to support
Trump.
the peaceful transfer of power under the Constitution of the United States of America.
But still,
big
the White
props
House
to
claims
Mike
that
Pence for
Twitter,
that.
Facebook, YouTube, and other platforms, JP Morgan, Bank of America, Capital One, and other major financial institutions, plus the legacy media, all conspired to destroy Donald Trump politically and economically in the years that followed. And well, you know, we kind of all knew that there were still people that believed this shit 5 years later. It is still, to a certain degree, shocking to see it laid out this comprehensively and ridiculously on an official government website. Which is then why you have people reacting online saying January 6th is crazy because we all watched it live and they're still gaslighting us about whether it happened. As well as, of course, people quoting Orwell's
Still
1984.
gaslighting.
The party
Still
told you to
gaslighting
reject
us.
the evidence of your eyes and ears. It was their final, most essential command. Right, and while there's a lot of focus on Trump rewriting history from 5 years ago, you've got some now accusing CBS News of rewriting history as it's happening. Many accusing CBS News of turning into Trump propaganda or Trump propaganda light for months now, and these concerns are just getting louder and louder, especially after last night's evening news broadcast. Because one, in their brief coverage of the anniversary of January 6th, for some reason they didn't mention Trump's revisionist website. And two, they ran this segment on Marco Rubio's role in the Trump administration where they glazed him harder than a box of Krispy Kremes.
The many lives and many jobs of Marco Rubio, the son of Cuban immigrants.
That's
and
crazy.
A former Florida senator. He's now the face of
CBS did this whole story on Marco Rubio glazing him
on Venezuela. All in addition to his roles as Secretary of State, interim National Security Advisor, and acting National Archivist and USAID Chief. Whatever you think of his politics, you got to admit it's an impressive resume.
CBS then took a kind of cutesy, jokey pivot to show a series of memes depicting Rubio holding other jobs like the governor of Minnesota, the new Shah of Iran, and Prime Minister of Greenland, before then adding.
Now, back in real life, of course, these memes may not add up to much, but for Rubio's hometown fans, which are many around here in Miami, it is a sign of how Florida, once an American punchline, has become a leader on the world stage.
Freaking Marco
Rubio,
he has a freaking alligator on his lap. What is this? This man is it says AI generated in the top corner. Wow, CBS just showing AI generated images. That's what the I hate this timeline. Long live Marco Rubio, King of Cuba, Viceroy of Venezuela. What did they say? He was the Emperor of Greenland on CBS.
It's an American punchline, has become a leader on the world stage. Marco Rubio, we salute you. You're the ultimate Florida man.
Ultimate Florida man. No, that's a diss, brother. That's a diss. That is not a good thing. Florida man is a meme. Oh my God. Oh my God.
This just felt like state media promo, state media propaganda, not a segment worthy of airing on a major news broadcast. Right? Many critical and some noting that even Fox has more dignity than this. They're saying that CBS, they're using a news program to do corporate bidding and calling this a naked appeal for support from the White House for Paramount's bid for Warner Brothers Discovery. You know, while we're not in their heads and we can't prove intent on why they got the knee pads out, I mean, this is a crucial point for CBS News right now. It's been the focus of tons of controversy lately, ever since the Paramount Skydance merger put David Ellison in charge and Barry Weiss became the new head of CBS News, right? People have viewed it as a more conservative outlet. Now it's revamping evening news with Tony DeCopel as the new anchor, and that's been off to a very rocky start. I mean, he only officially started on Monday, but even before then, he was irking people just by the way that he addressed viewers, talking about his goals for the show, saying,
"The point is, on too many stories, the press has missed the story because we've taken into account the perspective of advocates and not the average American. Or we put too much weight in the analysis of academics or elites and not enough on you."
With many finding that troubling, saying that CBS News shouldn't be dismissing input from experts and just hearing the other side and showing them as, equal things. But with that, you had DeCopel actually fighting back against those comments on Instagram, right? When one person wrote, "I grew up on Cronkite, too bad CBS has lost its Tiffany shine." DeCopel responded by saying, "What did you love most about him? I can promise you we'll be more accountable and more transparent than Cronkite or anyone else of his era." Also,
I don't know about that.
Show, CBS Evening News released new guidelines and promises to its viewers, and one of those was, "We love America and we make no apologies for saying so," and adding, "Our foundational values of liberty, equality, and the rule of law make us the last."
I hate Philly D's Dragon Ball Z suit, so goofy.
One way to think about our show is a daily conversation about where exactly we are as a country and where we are going. And again, for many, that was a red flag, making it sound like a news network was pledging allegiance to the country. A notion that even more people find concerning because Donald Trump has been moving like he is America. Then also had a lot of people wondering who the hell's running the show. And, DeCopel made his official evening news debut this week. There was a major on-air blunder.
All right, to other news, as you just heard from Jill, well, to other news now, to Governor Walz. No, we're going to do Mark Kelly. First day, big problems here. Are we going to Kelly here, or are we going to go to Jonah Kaplan?
Oh my
We're
God.
doing Mark Kelly.
You know, while technical
What is
difficulties,
this?
they happen,
Fox
many
News
just
is
thought this was showing
trash.
underscore the issues happening at CBS News right now. Variety even calling it an inauspicious sign of where CBS News is headed. But really where you're seeing the biggest concerns has to do with the change of content, the change of tone, and many saying it feels like this is really being built for an audience of one, and that being Donald Trump. To get in his good graces, to normalize his extremism, to be Trump propaganda light, maybe even work in a certain degree as an arm of the White House, which on that note, the White House Rapid Response account actually posted last night's Rubio segment in a positive light. And so also with that,
So
for
it's
some of
just
the MAGA
glazing
crowd,
Rubio.
this was an appealing pivot. Really, one of the biggest questions is this going to be a winning strategy for CBS News moving forward? And there, I'll say it kind of depends on the goals. Is the goal to increase viewership, get more ad dollars, get more money, right? Run a successful business, or is it just having a thing to disseminate information, to push propaganda? And there, it kind of brings us back to Elon Musk buying Twitter. But is his goal there to run a business that actually makes a ton of money, or is it about controlling the public square, controlling the dissemination of information, what's out there, what's not? Because that is its own kind of power. I would argue it's more important than money. Really how the systems work and are connected, especially with this administration, is you could have a loss here, but I mean, to switch it around to everyone, yeah, Jeff Bezos has the Washington Post, but also he has Amazon, also he has Blue Origin, there are government contracts. It feels like with these organizations and social networks getting gobbled up, there is just going to be an understandable distrust of information, whether it be from previously mainstream trusted sources like CBS News and the like. And then there's even more we've got to dive into, but first let me say, it is a new year, and if you're still online without a VPN,
Oh my God, sorry,
basically
we're
like walking
skipping the
through
ad.
months, 0 risk.
Skipping
Then, to get back into the
NordVPN.
news,
I already
the
bought
US
them,
seized
had
a
them for like 4
Russian-registered
years.
Venezuelan-linked oil tanker that
Okay, here we go.
across the Atlantic.
So I guess, oh my God, I guess we got another oil tanker in the Caribbean from Venezuela, and I think it's related to
For the
Russia.
past 2 weeks. But it's a tanker known as the Marinera, though when the chase began, it was called
Oh, I see, Marcella. The Dragon Ball. Yeah, I didn't realize it. I thought this was just like an old lady jacket, like an old lady. Hold on, an old lady like knit sweater type thing. Did not realize it had Dragon Ball Z characters on there. This man is a nerd. Oh my God! Spend your money on actual clothes. I'm sorry.
called the Bella 1. It appears that it's the only vessel owned by a company based in Turkey, which was also sanctioned by the United States Treasury Department back in 2024, with U.S. officials accusing the company of moving goods on behalf of the Quds Force, which is an elite wing within Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guards Corps. Though also, notably, the vessel is believed to have been transporting Venezuelan crude oil in the past, and with that, U.S. forces attempted to board the ship last month when it was in the Caribbean and believed to be heading toward Venezuela, and that being an effort to enforce Trump's total and complete blockade of all sanctioned oil tankers entering or leaving Venezuela. But the crew, they dramatically changed course. They sent out a distress signal and then they just went dark. But then 2 weeks later and thousands of miles away, they turned on their broadcast signal with a whole new name, re-registering as a Russian vessel, whereas before they were this stateless vessel flying under a false flag. And that's a very key thing here because, as one expert explained, once it's legitimately registered, it gets the protection of the flag. And dadding, it's not retroactive. You can't say it was stateless 2 weeks ago, so we're going to say it's stateless now. And with that, Russia made what was seen as an unusual move of allowing the tanker to get what has since been described as a temporary permit to sail under the Russian flag without an inspection or other formalities. And actually, several other sanctioned tankers have re-registered as Russian vessels in recent weeks as well. In fact, at least 18 oil tankers hit by U.S. sanctions have switched to a Russian registry, with many of them also having previously been sailing under a false flag. But for now, right, the focus is on the Marinera that the U.S. has been pursuing for 2 weeks, even though it had never actually picked up any oil from Venezuela. And even though the Russian government made a formal diplomatic request that the U.S. stop its chase. And all the while, this tanker was believed to have been heading toward a city in northwestern Russia. And while today, as the tanker moved northeast between Iceland and the UK, the Kremlin reportedly dispatching a submarine and other naval vessels to escort the tanker. At the same time, the US and the UK military scrambled aircraft in the area. And you then had reports quickly emerging that American forces had begun an operation to seize the tanker. Russian state media publishing footage reportedly taken from on board the tanker and appearing to show a US Coast Guard ship in the distance, as well as images purporting to show a US helicopter flying near the tanker. And sure enough, you then had the US European Command posting on X that the vessel was seized in the North Atlantic pursuant to a warrant issued by a U.S. federal court. And going on to say the seizure supports POTUS proclamation targeting sanctioned vessels that threaten the security and stability of the Western Hemisphere. And then Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth adding, the blockade of sanctioned and illicit Venezuelan oil remains in full effect anywhere in the world. And actually to that point, the Coast Guard also intercepted another Venezuela-linked tanker today, this one in the Caribbean, although the attention really, it's been focused on the one registered in Russia, especially as there have been fears of a Russia-United States standoff. So in the end, there were reportedly no Russian vessels in the vicinity of the tanker during the seizure, though I will say that also doesn't mean that there's not going to be fallout from this. I mean, you've got the Russian Transport Ministry already issuing a statement accusing the United States of breaking the 1982 UN Convention of the Law of the Sea, saying no state has the right to use force against ships properly registered in the jurisdictions of other states. And you also had a senior Russian lawmaker from the country's ruling party arguing that the U.S.'s actions...
Oh my God, this man has no chin. Chat, I need everyone to look at the screen right now. This man has no chin. He is a Bob's Burger character. Who is he? Hold on, I'm sorry.
The Law of the Sea, saying no state has the right to use force against ships properly registered in the jurisdictions of other states. And you also had a senior Russian lawmaker from the country's ruling...
Oh, he's Russian. No wonder. He's Russian. He's got that Slavic chin.
Party arguing that the U.S.'s actions they equated to an act of outright
you know, you need that
piracy.
extra.
But also another big thing with everything we're talking
extra,
about
a little bit of a right there. He has no chin.
And I mention that because right now European, Ukrainian, and American negotiators are in Paris trying to work out another deal. Right, and the negotiators, which included figures like Jared Kushner, which I guess means Trump is serious, they were all worried about the same problem. How do they deter future Russian aggression? And for that, they want to implement multi-layered defense guarantees for Ukraine. This, including by providing weapons and training to Ukraine's troops, which is probably a given, but the real breakthrough was the promise for a supporting force that would give land, sea, and air support. Now, I will say no information about how big that force is supposed to be has been released publicly. The US and allies are also supposed to monitor and verify that ceasefires are being adhered to. That also won't mean American boots on the ground, right? Trump has ruled that out explicitly. But France and the UK have signed a declaration of intent to send troops to Ukraine as part of any official peace deal. Even Germany was keeping the possibility of boots on the ground open, with their chancellor saying Germany will continue to engage politically, financially, and also militarily. This could include, for example, deploying forces for Ukraine on neighboring NATO territory after a ceasefire. And for Ukraine, these security guarantees, they're a must-have for any peace, to the point they won't even consider a peace deal without them. Also, another must-have for any peace deal is that the US needs to actually be on board, and so far that does seem to be the case. Right, Special Envoy Steve Witkoff writing on X, we have made significant progress on several critical work streams, including our bilateral security agreement framework and a prosperity plan. And adding, we agree with the coalition that durable security guarantees and robust prosperity commitments are essential to a lasting peace in the Ukraine, and we will continue to work together on this effort. But at the same time, you had Kushner saying this does not mean we will make peace, but peace would not be possible without the progress we made today. And he might be right that despite major headway on a common agreement being made yesterday, that peace still might not come. But at the end of the day, Russia has to agree, and boots on the ground, it just seems to be a line in the sand for them. So far, at least as I'm recording, they haven't commented on the new peace deal, but the U.S.'s actions, they do amount to a direct confrontation with Russia. And while there are still some unknowns,
yeah, which is crazy since Trump loves Putin so much. Why would we fight with him unless they're genuinely fighting? Unless Putin and Trump are genuinely fighting, and now we are all taking brunt of their little, lovers' quarrel. I don't know. This is too much.
Possibly two reasons for this. One is that it's Orthodox Christmas in Russia. So just like the US and many countries, things kind of completely shut down at this time of year. So, it is entirely possible we see some stronger language and response in the coming days. But also, you can't look at this without considering that ever since Trump got reelected, Russia has been trying to kind of not confront the US on really so many issues. And in some ways, it looks like it's working, as Trump has entertained Russian demands for peace in Ukraine. Though the biggest payoff might be coming soon after Trump wrote a massive anti-NATO piece on Truth Social. Right, a piece where he bashes members of the alliance and claims that the US props it up before then adding, Russia and China have zero fear of NATO without the United States, and I doubt NATO would be there for us if we really needed them. A statement that, many people took as Trump threatening to leave NATO, which was then kind of contradicted in that post itself, because right after Trump added, we will always be there for NATO, even if they won't be there for us. So of course that he's
stupid. We will always be there for NATO. Homie, we have not been there for NATO. NATO has been begging us to do more, and we haven't, because, well, I guess, ever since they started paying 5% of their GDP to NATO, is so stupid.
Sure to end it by making it clear that he was behind the US version of America that Russia and China fear. But also, here's the thing, whatever Trump's writing online, you have this White House still making threats that if they follow through on it, it could very possibly lead to the end of NATO. Or with White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt continuing to insist yesterday and today that acquiring Greenland is a national security priority and that the use of military force remains an option.
Like NATO being NATO hasn't been what it like. NATO was supposed to be like an actual like gang, right? Not a gang, but a collective of nations that had common goals and wanted to do they had common goals and shared interest, and literally the common goal and shared interest has been like anti-Russian, right? NATO was formed post World War II, to not have communism spread to the rest of Europe, right? Because it was already there in East Germany, right? And it was just basically there to ensure that the USSR during the Cold War didn't, actually go and attack any Western European country, because they were under the NATO guarantee that if you attack one of us, you attack all of us, and we're gonna attack all of us back to you. So it was an alliance. And it just like literally NATO should have done something when Putin first started doing his advancements in Crimea and whatever back during the Obama years. That's when NATO should have done something against Russia, or inducted, or made some sort of new thing, because I'll tell you guys, literally NATO was inherently anti-Russian. It was formed against the Soviet Union, and until the Western countries thought that American countries could, not American countries, whatever. You guys know what I'm saying.
Now, with that, you also have Secretary of State Marco Rubio recently telling lawmakers that these threats aren't serious and they're just about pressuring Denmark into selling Greenland. That's also not really reassuring, with experts arguing that the stakes are just too high to not take Trump seriously, especially considering what he just did in Venezuela. Just like with what happened there, it doesn't really seem to be about drugs. It's not clear that the interest in Greenland is really about national security. Right? Greenland, this autonomous territory of Denmark, is strategically located and home to vast untapped mineral resources that much of the world is currently reliant on China for. And as far as security, the U.S. already has a military base on the island, which supports missile warning and missile defense operations. And in fact, with some conditions, the agreement that allows the U.S. to operate its base there also allows it to construct, install, maintain, and operate military bases across Greenland, house personnel, and control landings, takeoffs, anchorages, moorings, movements, and operation of ships, aircraft, and waterborne craft. Right? It's why you have experts saying the U.S. has such a free hand in Greenland that it can pretty much do what it wants. And adding, I have a very hard time seeing that the U.S. couldn't get pretty much everything it wanted if it just asked nicely. And even when it comes to mineral resources, Greenlanders
I know, like, honestly, if American companies wanted to go there and extract resources from Greenland, I'm sure we could have come up with some contract. There's no reason to come right out the gates being like, we're going to take over Greenland. There was no reason to do that. And I don't know why Trump did. It's just, I guess they're just swinging their dicks around. That's really the only thing I can think of. I am a woman. I do not understand men's brains. So some man will have to explain to me why Trump came out of the gate swinging, right? I know he was super shamed from not having, the election stolen from him, and he had those 4 years of Joe Biden and stuff, and I'm sure he was super salty about that. But like, homie, you won the 2024 election. What else do you want? Like, the U.S. is yours. Why do we need to go for Greenland? Why do we need to go for Venezuela? Who's making these decisions?
This, right, Trump's recent complaints that the island was covered in Russian and Chinese ships, it really doesn't appear to match reality. I mean, you've had European officials noting that while Russia and China have increased their activity in the region, most of that's elsewhere in the Arctic, with no current uptick in activity near Greenland. With the Danish foreign minister saying, the image is being painted of Russian and Chinese ships right inside the Nuuk Fjord and massive Chinese investments being made is not correct, and adding, the situation was based on a misreading of what is up and what is down. Now, with all this, you've got Danish and Greenlandic officials reportedly hoping to meet with Marco Rubio to push back against Trump's flawed view of the security situation and ultimately ease tensions. You've also seen several European nations as well as Canada coming out with a joint statement showing their support for Denmark and Greenland, though notably avoiding explicit criticism of the US. And also, there's been a lot of discussion about what else might actually be done to stop the United States from doing kind of whatever it wants. So there, the answer may very well be not that much. But it's been said that European countries could reconsider their support for US military bases on their territory, possibly taking steps to limit access or increase costs. But, the problem there is that NATO and Europe, they still depend heavily on the United States for their own security. And similarly, it's been said that European countries could try to use trade or taxation policies to pressure the United States, at least in theory. But in practice, those actions could also undermine the alliance that they're meant to protect. And so ultimately, many of the options available to try and prevent the United States from taking action that would most likely destroy NATO, they would at the very least weaken NATO and maybe ultimately bring about its end as well. So it's actually been argued that there is a definite pathway toward a non-military US takeover of Greenland. Though if it did come down to military action, it also probably wouldn't face any resistance. Or even at a Danish politician who asked to stay anonymous telling Politico, it could be like 5 helicopters. He wouldn't need a lot of troops. There would be nothing they could do. You also had an associate professor of military operations at the Royal Danish Defense College further explaining, you could just simply put troops in the country and just say that it's American now. And adding the United States military is capable of landing any number of forces on Greenland, either by air or by sea, and then claiming that it's American territory. And we talk about all of that not to normalize it, but to, note that while it still may be unlikely, not long ago, it felt like a complete impossibility. But that, my friends, is the end of today's Wednesday Philip DeFranco show.
All right. Thank you, Philly D, so much for filling. We've been filled in. Thank you, Philly D, for filling us in. He loves our faces. I know. He's still a libertarian to me. So thank you. Let's go on to our next subject. Man, maybe I need to start watching Philly D again. Yeah, feel free to subscribe to his channel. I don't know if you unsubscribed from it or not, but Philly D has been pretty good. Whatever his team, whoever's been part of his team, I feel like they're getting way more. The bias isn't as big anymore, right? If that makes sense. Philly D is definitely trying to reach a broader audience. Okay, so I also wanted to point out this tweet from Elizabeth Warren, where she said, I just left the Venezuela briefing. This was today's January 7th. It was at 10 a.m. So a couple hours ago, she said, I just left the Venezuelan briefing. It's worse than you thought. Oil company executives seem to know more about Trump's secret plan to run Venezuela than the American people. We need a public Senate hearing now. So I guess there was no Senate hearing. It was a private Senate hearing that she was a part of for the Venezuela oil plan. They got a picture of Donald Trump looking like a Israeli settler saying, if we don't steal it, somebody else will. Venezuela stuff is not good. Hold on. Let's go to Maduro. Nicolas Maduro. He had outfit change.
No more steak and cigars for Nicolas Maduro.
He was having cigars?
5 a.m. breakfast at the Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn consists of cereal and skim milk. Lunch, served at 10 a.m., is a fish sandwich, baked potato,
fish
and green beans,
sandwich.
And for dinner, Italian food. A choice
oh my God. Maduro is not living the life anymore. He's having cheap food, cheap New York City prison food.
Lasagna with meat sauce or pasta fagioli. Those first images of Maduro after his capture are generating lots of chatter
Stephen
on social
Fabian.
media. He had 3 outfit changes on his journey to the USA.
Okay, let's see.
That gray Nike
get gray Nike tech.
Including that gray Nike tracksuit and this stylish baby blue hoodie.
My phone started blowing up. I went online and I was like,
he had
okay,
so
this
many
guy's
different
actually
outfits.
wearing one of our hoodies.
Pete Roberts says the hoodie is from his trendy sportswear company, Origin
Oh,
USA.
no.
And yes, it's made in the USA in the state of Maine.
No.
How do you think Maduro got his hands on one of your shirts?
We do have a lot of customers.
You wanna cop that Maduro drip? Good thing it was made in the USA. Damn.
Customers in special forces, and my assumption is maybe he was coming off the plane, he was hard to see, and they did have snipers on the rooftops, and somebody reached in and said, we can light him up with this Patriot blue hoodie from Origin.
We had a very good day.
Wow.
President Trump today once again hailed Maduro's capture, and it sure seems like he's confirming reports that the video of Maduro dancing in the days leading up to the raid really bugged
Man,
him.
he had no idea it was going to be captured.
Take my dance a little bit.
Not everyone on Team Trump is celebrating. Conservative podcaster Megyn Kelly says she's withholding her verdict on Operation Absolute Resolve.
What does it mean in terms of boots on the ground? Trump is saying, I'm actually fine with that in Venezuela. Well, whose boots? Because I have a 16-year-old boy.
Trump did get...
Damn, Megyn Kelly said, my son is not going to war. Well, news for you, Megyn Kelly. You do not have to go to war. Your son will never have to go to war because you're wealthy. You're a wealthy white woman.
Some surprising support on, of all places, The View from Ana Navarro,
Oh my
who was
God.
born in Nicaragua.
Who voted for this? Who said, hey, yeah,
No.
go on in there and do this?
Who voted for this? The people in South Florida. The Venezuelan
There you
community.
go.
the
I told you, chat. I told you it was literally it was literally the Venezuelans in Miami, Florida, the Cubans in Miami, Florida, who got all who got Marco Rubio elected because they said, we're not doing America first. We're doing Cuba first. We want our land back in Cuba. And the only way to get it is like the pro-Israel lobbies that we've had in today's time is the pro-Cuban lobbies have been around forever, and this is who got Maduro to all the Florida men out there got us involved in Venezuela.
An American community, the Nicaraguan American community voted for this. And for us, this is a very, very happy day. This murderous, corrupt, sadistic son of a bitch, it brought me great joy.
Eva spoke to Tony DeCopel, the new anchor of CBS Evening News, who's broadcasting tonight from his hometown, Miami.
There's a huge Venezuelan population there in Miami. What are you hearing from those people?
They were all celebrating
about what's been happening in Venezuela.
We saw it first the day of, literally hours after Maduro was taken by the U.S. forces. We tuned in to Miami news, and who was out there dancing on the streets? It was the Venezuelans and the Cubans. No one was more happy that we did a military operation in Venezuela than the Cuban and Venezuelan population in Miami.
You talk to here in South Florida, if they have a connection to Venezuela, if they're Venezuelan themselves, they'll tell you it was tears of joy the moment they heard Maduro was out. And now there's a sparkle of hope thinking about what's coming next.
What are they going to do? What are they going to do? Give the Venezuelans their land back? Like how the Cubans in Miami want? They want their land back? That's crazy. It's crazy that they would force a whole nother country to go and fight for them to get their land back. They want American boots on the ground to get Venezuelans their land back. That's not right. That's not right. That's anti-American. And those people, like Nick Fuentes said, if you're Cuba first, maybe you should go live in Cuba. If you're Venezuela first, maybe you should go live in Venezuela. Don't live in America and get us to start foreign intervention because your family couldn't stop the dictators there. I'm saying it. Marcella said, no, they are Americans now. They aren't moving back. Exactly, because they want to have their cake and eat it too, which is crazy. You cannot Not in America. Do that on your own money. Don't waste Megyn Kelly's 16-year-old son's prospects of a future because 60 plus year old retired Floridians want to have a fantasy of going back and retrieving their land that they ran away from, that was taken from them by Castro back in the back in the 60s and 70s or whenever. So, all right. Next thing that we're going to get into, everyone, real quick, let me plug myself. My name is Angelina Tucci. If you want to subscribe, that would be awesome. You'll get political news coverage. I focus on local politics. I focus on California politics. And I had been covering the Maduro Venezuela thing since before Trump even drone striked the first boat. So hit subscribe. We are going to be talking about 2026 predictions later on. And we'll be going, after this, we're going to go over Doug Mafalda. I think that's his name. Homie died. Californian representative. Here, let's watch Fox News. Hold on. Hold on. Sorry. Struggling here. Boomer moment. That's me.
All right,
okay, here we go.
With us on Live Now from Fox. We are learning here via Fox News that Republican U.S. Representative Doug LaMalfa of California has died at the age of 65. Majority Whip Tom Emmer confirming this news. Here's what we know as this is a breaking and developing story. We do know that House GOP Representative Doug LaMalfa from California has passed away at age 65. LaMalfa, representative, part of California, and was chair of the Congressional Western Caucus. Now, his death brings House Republicans' majority down to 218 to 213. So this is that post here from House Majority Whip Tom Emmer confirming the death, saying, Jackie and I are devastated about the sudden loss of our friend, Congressman Doug LaMalfa. Doug was a loving father and husband and staunch advocate for
this is from Fox News, by the way.
And rural America. Our prayers are with Doug's wife, Jill, and their children. Now, as you can imagine, a lot of reaction coming in here from social media. This is from House Republicans.
Bro, he was born in 1960.
The loss of Congressman Doug LaMalfa, a lifelong resident in Northern California and a fourth-generation rice farmer. Congressman LaMalfa,
he was a rice farmer? I didn't even know we grew rice in Northern California.
He proudly represented California's first congressional district from 2013 to 2026, serving as chairman of the Congressional Western Caucus. Please join us in praying for Congressman LaMalfa's wife, kids, and staff. I am going to see if our producers have any additional social media reaction coming in here. All right, so this is from Representative Carlos Jimenez.
I don't even know these people. Okay.
All right, thanks for being here
never mind.
Us
that was the
on
same link.
We are learning here via Fox News that Republican U.S. Representative Doug LaMalfa of California has died.
Okay, here we go.
We are continuing to follow.
From Northern California local news, KCRA, Channel 3. They were a great resource for the Sabrina Cervantes stuff.
Breaking news at this hour, Congressman Doug LaMalfa has died.
And this morning, we're going to welcome in political analyst Kevin Riggs to kind of get a little bit more perspective. And Kevin, thank you so much for joining us this morning, especially on such short notice.
My pleasure, Mike, Brandy.
And again, we know that you've obviously been very familiar with a lot of the political spectrum of Northern California, including Congressman Doug LaMalfa. So if you could, before we dive into what the effects this could do in the House, who was Congressman Doug LaMalfa to you?
Well, I knew Congressman LaMalfa when he was first elected to office in the legislature. He was elected to the Assembly, and then he was elected to the Senate in 2010. went on to Congress in 2013. So I had pretty regular dealings with him, and he was a staunch conservative in keeping with his district. He, for example, opposed same-sex marriage. He was a big supporter of gun control laws and those kinds of issues, again, in keeping with his district. But LaMalfa really was well-liked at the Capitol. He had a way of being able to talk to folks from the other side of the aisle, from talking to his opponents. He was somebody who would talk with people, not just simply talk at people. And so, my dealings with him he was always willing to talk. He was cordial. We both had gone to Cal Poly. We both loved classic Mustangs. So we had those issues.
Wow. We both went to Cal Poly. I thought the homie was a Northern Californian. No, he went to school here in Southern California, and I guess he likes Mustangs.
In common that we could talk about beyond politics. So to summarize, a conservative politician, but somebody who could work with his opponents and who was relatively well liked.
Kevin, this really comes as a shock to a lot of people this morning. Even, I mentioned earlier in our newsroom when we started to hear the news, it was, very, very shocking for sure. What do you anticipate will be the impact of his sudden passing?
Well, it is a surprise. You're right, Brandy, because there was no indication that he was in poor health. He was 65 years old. This kind of reminds me of when Congressman Bob Matsui passed away in the early 2000s, who had represented Sacramento. Doris Matsui's husband represented Sacramento for years and years, and it was a big shock. So beyond the initial surprise, obviously there needs to be a system put into place for replacement. And there's a little bit of time to think about how that's going to happen. But essentially, the governor has to call a special election. And typically they'll try and call a special primary to consolidate with a regularly scheduled election. Well, in this case, the election's not until June. So I anticipate that Governor Newsom will call a special election much sooner than that. And then 60 days after that, there's a general election to find a replacement. Now, I will say that just in terms of the politics of the current California map, Congressman LaMalfa's district was one of those that was targeted in that recent ballot measure to redraw the maps. So it was going to become much less conservative. And so that's going to determine which candidates jump into this race.
Excuse me.
Now, Kevin, again, this has been a very sudden announcement this morning, and it's still maybe even too early to talk about the ramifications. Just talk about the kind of representative he was for his district, because again, we throw out the terms that this is a rural area, but I mean, this is a very important area in terms of Northern California, not just in terms of identity, but also economically. There were a lot of folks within that realm who maybe even looked at him as being a representative that actually did kind of fit the mold of what their community was like.
No question. Doug LaMalfa was in many respects in step with the interests of so many people in his district, a rural district, an enormously large district. He was widely considered to be an expert on water issues, on natural resources and forestry. He, again, took traditional conservative viewpoints. He was a skeptic of climate change, for example, wasn't sure that wildfires were due to climate change, but more had to do with forest management. Doug LaMalfa, though, again, was in keeping with his district, filling out the role of a conservative. And so, in terms of his expertise, he did serve on the Agricultural Committee, he served on the Natural Resources Committee, and was a key vote in many pieces of key legislation designed to protect forestry and to protect water rights for farmers in Northern California. He was a longtime rice farmer. I believe his farm, I've been there once, I believe it was in Colusa County. So he had grown up around agriculture and around water issues and knew those issues very well. And again, really represented the conservative mindset of so many of his constituents throughout Northern California.
Kevin, we again appreciate your perspective on this and talking to us about this this morning.
Okay. That was a little background, but not that great. Let's read, let's do some reading now. This one by Ryan Sabolo. This was from January 6th, so yesterday. And it might be a more deeper dive of Doug LaMalfa. The Doug LaMalfa I covered: authentic, cranky, and deeply caring. So let's find out what type of conservative he is, right? Okay. If you hadn't met Doug LaMalfa, his campaign signs probably seem like a sort of eye-rolling attempt at folksy charm some slick politicians who never had dirt under his fingernails might use to appeal to rural voters. He's one of us, they read. A cartoon cowboy hat perched off of L in Mafal's I keep on calling Mafalda in lamalfa's name. But as I covered lamalfa's political career over the past 2 decades, often critically, I came to appreciate those signs as an accurate description of lamalfa. The rural North State's longtime Republican member of Congress, he died in surgery after being rushed to Butte County Hospital Monday for a medical emergency. We don't know what the medical emergency was, I guess. LaMalfa was 65. Is a straight boomer. Love or hate his hardline far-right Republican politics, President Donald Trump praised him Tuesday for voting for me 100% of the time. Wow. LaMalfa was a unique political figure, as you'll find in Washington, D.C. or Sacramento. When he said he was one of us, it wasn't an act. LaMalfa, a fourth-generation rice farmer from Butte County, was engaged with an emblematic of the people in his district as any politician I've known. You were much more likely to see LaMalfa having a burger and beer at a watering hole like the Tackle Box in Chico, or at a gas station filling up one of his classic cars than you were to see him standing at a lectern in a suit. From the rice fields of Sacramento Valley to Modoc County, borders with Oregon, odds were high you'll see LaMalfa's tall, husky frame as he mingled with his constituents at some Rotary Club luncheon, a county fair, a 4-H event, community festival, or car show. He was usually wearing faded jeans and scuffed cowboy boots. So, how did he get a start in politics, though? Former Republican gubernatorial candidate and ex-state senator Brian Dahl, a farmer from Lassen County, represented much of LaMalfa's rural district in the legislature. He said he was in awe of how plugged in LaMalfa was. He's in Modoc, he's in Plumas, he's in Siskiyou, he's in Chico. Those are all Northern California counties, I think. I don't know, Southern California supremacy. He's everywhere. He's on a plane 5 hours back and forth from Washington, D.C., Dahl said. It was amazing. I always used to say you can't out backyard barbecue Doug LaMalfa because you'll go to a backyard barbecue and he'll be there. I grew up in LaMalfa's district, and most of my friends and family still live there. They bumped into LaMalfa all the time. I also covered what felt like 100 events featuring LaMalfa as a reporter fresh out of college. First in the Auburn Journal in Placer County, and then for 6 years at the Record Searchlight in Redding and Shasta County. Later, during 7 years at the Sacramento Bee, he was at the Bee, my reporting on environmental issues often took me home to LaMalfa's district. My career as a reporter began as LaMalfa was beginning his career in state and federal politics. After graduating Cal Poly San Luis Obispo, maybe that's where they went, and I said that they were going to Cal Poly Pomona. I'm dumb. And working on his farm, LaMalfa was elected to the legislature in 2002, during the Bush years. First as a Republican member of the Assembly, and then as a state senator. Okay, so he did the typical Assembly member, then state senator path. That's much like how Eloise Gomez-Reyes has, and many others. LaMalfa was elected to Congress in 2012 during the Obama years. Well, that was the Obama versus Mitt Romney election, and held the seat ever since. Okay. He then planned to try to hold on to it after California's in November passed Prop 50, which redrew LaMalfa's district to skew Democratic. Former California State President Pro Tem Mike Mike McGuire, has announced he is running for LaMalfa's seat. His death shakes up the political landscapes considerably, leaving uncertainty over who will be the Republican challenger in the expected special election to replace him. Over the years, I covered LaMalfa, sometimes unflatteringly. At the Searchlight, I wrote about his federal subsidies his family farm received. Even as Republicans like him at the time were discussing slashing welfare programs to the poor. I wrote about how much money he charged taxpayers for mileage as he zipped around at his massive district in one of his gas-guzzling sports cars. That's crazy. At the Bee, I wrote about how LaMalfa, who was a farmer, knew he was around heavy equipment. He got into a bulldozer in Siskiyou County and began mowing down illegal pot farms with the local sheriff's department. No way. Homie was anti-weed. That's terrible. He said, I love the smell of diesel power in the afternoon. It smells like victory. Homie was rolling coal and taking his own doses. I love the smell of diesel power in the afternoon. It smells like victory. LaMalfa said in a video clip he posted on social media. Ooh, I would love to see that. Riffing on the line from the Vietnam War epic Apocalypse Now before breaking into a grin. It was a remarkably tone-deaf thing to say since those pot farmers were owned by Asian immigrants. Some of them Hmong, whose relatives fought in the Vietnam War. They were accusing local authorities of race-based harassment. The movie line came right after the military napalmed an innocent Vietnamese village. That's crazy. I had no idea that it had racist origins like that. I skewered LaMalfa and his non-compromised style, particularly on environmental issues. In a series of essays I wrote for the Bee about intractable wildlife problems in northeastern California, whose habitats are dear to me. I called him on his cell phone 5 years ago to the day of his death, while the violent mob of Trump supporters attacked the U.S. Capitol. He didn't pick up. No, was he at January 6th? Oh my God. LaMalfa would later join in the group of Republicans who voted against certifying Joe Biden as president. No way. No way. He was, okay. He's a MAGA Republican. All that's to say, I'm sure plenty of liberal members of LaMalfa's district aren't exactly shedding any tears at his loss. But I got choked up Tuesday morning when I read the news that he died. Oh my God, typical lib. I always liked LaMalfa personally, though I don't think he liked me very much thanks to some of those stories. I guess I just appreciated how Doug LaMalfa never stopped being Doug LaMalfa, an unpolished farmer who is kind and warm in person, but also spoke his mind no matter who was in the room. I remember seeing him once as I was covering the cool April Nights car show in Reading. I'm sure he got some FaceTime with the people he hoped would vote for him in the next election, but I couldn't tell. But I could tell he wasn't really there for that. He was checking out all the shiny old cars because he's a classic car guy, and that was his jam. So I never want to be known. I'm a car person. I never want to be known as a classic car guy. Jesus, that's embarrassing. One of LaMalfa's former staffers said he liked to ask potential hires, "What's your favorite car?" Damn. I should have interned for this dude. I would have been like, my favorite car? Listen here, Doug LaMalfa. I know you're an American car guy, but JDM supremacy, homie. These JDM muscle cars, they get so much more. They are so much more better than American muscle cars. My favorite car is a Japanese Toyota. He would have been like, get this commie out of here. Sorry. I'll also never forget LaMalfa attending an event in Reading at which my wife got an award for her job in a program that helped underprivileged kids. Only a couple dozen people were there. There were no real media cameras, and his office didn't send out any press release saying he would be there. LaMalfa went because it was just a nice thing to do, quietly supporting those who supported Redding's troubled youth. I know, I'm sorry, Marcella. I gotta be silly. It's all we have. And even though he was a touch frosty with me, he's always asked how my wife and her dad were doing during interviews. He regularly ran into my father-in-law in Chico, where he volunteered for various service organizations. Republican State Senator Tony Strickland. No way. Mr. Strickland. Yeah, JDM master race for sure. You know, JDM cars, amazing, perfection. We don't need anything else. Republican State Senator Tony Strickland was LaMalfa's roommate while the two served in the legislature. He said Papa Doug always took the time, no matter how busy he was, to ask him about his daughter, now in college, who he used to hold as a baby. He's just really a deeply caring human being, Strickland said. Okay. He's an average person and a respectful person. Sounds, how many of those people do we have? Okay, I'm not trying to crap on him, but I'm suspicious of someone who says they vote with Trump 100% of the time, no matter what. In this era of hyperpartisanship, I respected how, instead of running to cable news to offer a partisan critique, LaMalfa would wait to speak with then President Biden after his State of the Union address. He politely pressed Biden personally to pay more attention to wildlife prevention and other issues important to his constituents. I also respected how immensely passionate LaMalfa was about the Oroville Dam spillway disaster in 2017 and the campfire that burned down the town of Paradise the next year. At one point, LaMalfa got on a conference call hosted by state officials for the media and began lambasting the people in charge. He was livid. Those were his families and friends living below the shattered spillways and whose homes had been burned in Paradise. You may not agree with his particular viewpoint or his particular stance on an issue, Butte County Sheriff Corey Hohen, I don't know, Hona, that's a weird name, who worked closely with LaMalfa during the dam ordeal, the campfire, and several other major disasters. That said, I do believe wholeheartedly he was passionate about representing the interest of the northern state residents that he served, and he did it consistent with his values, what he thought was best for the community. Look, here he is in front of an old, what is this? At left, Aaron Mellon, former spokesperson for the California Department of Water Resources, and later former Gavin Newsom. And ladder, that's weird. Okay. Oh, it's a Ford Thunderbird. Okay. So, yep, there he is with his classic cars. Okay. Aaron Mellon feels the same. Oh, that's a lady in the picture here. Although she's a Democrat, Mellon said even after LaMalfa gave her an earful, she appreciated how kindly he and his team treated her afterwards. At one point, LaMalfa even took her on a personal tour of the spillway in his red Thunderbird convertible. Okay, so this is his car. In one meeting, he could be re-aiming you and ripping you, and then the next second, he's taking you for a tour of the Oroville Dam in his prized red convertible sports car, he said, choking up at the memory. For him to take that time to respect you as a person is unique. He was very authentic. He was really himself, and he was just a great representative of that part of the state. He really fought, I think, for his constituents, and he wasn't terribly selfish about it. LaMalfa is survived by his wife Jill, 4 children, 1 grandchild, 2 sisters, and a host of cousins, according to the statement from his office. What did he die of, though? Surgery for what? Yeah, so it's like he was rushed to the hospital and then died mid-surgery. Was it like a heart attack or something? So it's crazy. A typical Northern Californian Republican. It's, Okay. All right. All right. Let's finish Venezuela real quick. There was one article I wanted to read in regards to Putin and Venezuela. Okay. Here's a picture of Putin shaking hands with Maduro of Venezuela. This is from Trump's superpower flex in Venezuela delivers a humbling blow to Putin's Russia. President Putin has proved a useless ally to depose Venezuelan leader Maduro, but the humiliation runs deeper. The U.S. president's real global superpower reach is turning the Kremlin green with envy. I don't know about that. Do we really need to be putting out articles saying that we know Russia is envious of what we were doing because they want to also, continue their campaign of taking over more land? All right. By Eva Hogart. With his lightning raid to snatch the Venezuelan strongman Nicolas Maduro, U.S. President Donald Trump has shown that President Vladimir Putin's self-proclaimed multipolar world of anti-Western dictatorial alliances from Caracas to Tehran is essentially toothless. Beyond the humiliation of the world seeing that Putin isn't a dependable ally when the chips are down, something already witnessed by Nagorno-Karabakh, Syria, and Iran. There's now also the added insult that Trump appears more effective and bolder in pulling off the sort of maverick superpower interventions the Kremlin wishes it could achieve. In short, Putin has been upstaged at being a law unto himself. While the Russian leader would presumably have loved to remove Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky in a blitz attack, he's instead been locked in a brutal war for years, suffering over 1 million Russian dead and wounded. Putin must be unbearably jealous of Trump, political analyst and former Kremlin speechwriter told Politico. What Putin promised to do in Ukraine, Trump did in half an hour in Venezuela. The sense that Moscow has lost face was one of the few things independent analysts and Russia's ultra-nationalists seem to agree on. Discussing the Caracas raid on his Telegram account, the nationalist spy turned soldier and war blogger Igor Girkin, now jailed in a penal colony, wrote, "We've suffered another blow to our image. Another country that was counting on Russia's help hasn't received it." I don't know about that. I don't know. When has Russia stepped in to help another country? When has Putin stepped in to help another country? For years, Russia has sought to project itself as the main force resisting American-led Western hegemony, pioneering an alliance loosely united by the idea of the common enemy in Washington. Under Putin, Russia presented itself as a chief proponent of this multipolar world, which, like the Soviet Union, would help defend those in its camp. Invading Ukraine in 2022, Moscow called upon its allies to rally at its side. Did they? Because I think it was only only North Korea that actually helped. They largely heeded the call. Iran sold Russia drones. Okay. China and India bought its oil. The leaders of those countries in Latin America and Africa, with less to offer economically and militarily, gave symbolic support that lent credence to Moscow's claim it wasn't an international pariah and in fact had plenty of friends. Recent events, however, have shown those to be one-way friendship to the benefit of Moscow. Russia, it appears, won't be riding to the rescue. The first to realize that cozying up to Russia had been a waste of time were the Armenians. Distracted by the Ukraine war, Moscow didn't lift a finger to stop Azerbaijan from seizing the ethnic Armenian region of Nagorno. Yeah, see this? I didn't even pay attention to this. In a lightning war in 2023, Russian peacekeepers just stood by. A year later, the Kremlin was similarly helpless as it watched the collapse of the Syria regime of Bashar al-Assad, which it had propped up for years. Russia even had to abandon Tartus, a vital port in the Mediterranean. Furthermore, undermining its status in the Middle East, Russia was unable to help Iran and Israel. Was unable to help Iran when Israel and the U.S. last year bombed the Islamic Republic at will. Russia had long been an important strategic partner to Iran in nuclear technology, but it had no answer to the overwhelmingly display of military aviation used to strike Iran's atomic facilities. Now, Venezuela, another of Putin's longtime allies, has been humiliated, electing haughty commendation, but no action from Moscow. Moscow's energy and military ties to Caracas runs deep. Since 1999, Russia has supplied more than $20 billion in military equipment, financed through loans and secured in part by control over Venezuela's oil industry, investments that would now be little avail to Moscow. Maduro's capture is particularly galling for the Russians as in the past they have managed to whisk their man to safety, securing a dacha after you escape being among the attractions of any dictator's pact with Russia. Hold on, I need to look up this word. Dacha. Oh my god. A country house or cottage in Russia, Ukraine, and neighboring countries. Dacha. Typically used as a second or vacation home.
Dacha.
Dacha. There we go. Thank you. Thank you, Google. Securing a dacha after your escape will be among the attractions of any dictator's pact with Russia. Oh, okay. So implying that if Maduro didn't get captured by the United States, he could have had a nice little dacha house in the countryside of Russia where he's under the protection of Putin. But while ousted Ukrainian leader Viktor Yanukovych and Assad secured refuge in Russia, Maduro on Monday appeared in New York court dressed in prison garb. Russian officials predictably have denounced the American attack. Russian Foreign Ministry described it as an unacceptable violation of the sovereignty of an independent state, yes, while Senator Alexei Puskov said Trump's actions heralded a return to the wild imperialism of the 19th century. Yep, I agree. Wild imperialism of the 19th century, but I mean that's what Putin had been doing. So sovereignty violations and anarchist imperialism, of course, are exactly what Russians themselves are accused of in Ukraine. There has been the usual sable rattling. Here's a bunch of pictures of Maduro. Crazy. Alexei Zhuravlev, deputy chairman of Russia's Parliamentary Defense Committee, said Russia should consider providing Venezuela with a nuclear-capable ordnance missile. Jesus Christ. Imagine, oh my God, Venezuelans don't even have enough food for their people. Why would Russia give them nuclear weapons? Jeez. And the military-themed channel Two Majors, which has more than 1.2 million followers, posted on Telegram that Washington's actions have effectively given Moscow free rein to resolve its own issues by any means necessary, as if Moscow has not been doing so already. Yeah, basically what happened is like America's the parent and Moscow's like the teenager, right? Washington is the parent, Moscow's the teenager. Basically Moscow has been doing, kind of bad things, and the parent that is America has been like, okay, you can do your little rebelling thing, we get it. We have so many other things to focus on, so we're not going to worry about this right now, right? And then Washington went and did the same thing that the teenage Moscow has been doing for years at this point. And now teenage Moscow is like, you can't tell me anything, America. You literally did the same thing that you were scolding me for doing today. You did it yesterday. So there is absolutely no reason why you have any moral authority over me, because you are doing the same stuff that I have been doing. It's like finding out your parents do hard drugs and they were telling you not to smoke weed, but like they drink alcohol every day and are extreme alcoholics. But weed could be a bad thing. The more optimist quarters of the Russian camp argue that Trump's actions in Caracas show international law has been jettisoned, allowing Moscow to justify its own behavior. Others suggest, despite evidence to the contrary in the Middle East, that Trump is adhering to the 19th century Monroe Doctrine and will be content to focus on dominance of the Americas, leaving Russia to its old European and Central Asian spheres of influence. Yeah, I think last stream we were talking about the spheres of influence, that there's no more global leader. It's just little tribes across the globe having spheres of influence. Whoops. Okay. In truth, however, Putin has followed the might is right model for years. What's embarrassing is that he hasn't proving as successful as for whatever. Trump did it better than Putin. That's what the article is saying. Indeed, the dominant emotion among Russia's nationalists appeared to be envy, both veiled and undisguised. All of Russia is asking itself, why don't we deal with our enemies in a similar way, wrote Alexander Dugin, a prominent ultranationalist. Russia, he continued, should take a leaf out of Trump's playbook. Do like Trump, do it better than Trump and faster. Pro-Kremlin mouthpiece Margarita Simonyan was even more explicit, saying there was reason to be jealous. Various pro-Kremlin commentators also noted tartly that, unlike Russia, the U.S. was unlikely to face repercussions in the form of international sanctions or being canceled. Okay, see, that's what I mean. Moscow is still a teenager. They still can face really bad consequences from, big brother America or older cousin America, Russia still has to mind their P's and Q's. If they were, who knows, like if, well, I mean, I don't know if Trump would do anything against Putin, but say Vladimir Putin went and took out Zelensky of Ukraine in the same way that the U.S. did with Venezuela and Maduro. Do you think Trump would be like, oh yeah, there's going to be big consequences for Russia? I don't know. I really don't know. I don't think he would. I mean, who knows? It seems like their relationship is on the rocks. Originally, maybe they were just keeping each other close, but I don't know, man. It's Putin and Trump do not have the same vibes that they used to. To many in Russia, Trump's audacious move is likely to confirm rather than to upend their worldview, said Galimov, the analyst. Russian officials and state media have long proclaimed that the world is ruled by strength rather than laws. Yeah, that's what it's back to now. The irony, though, is that Trump is showing himself to be more skillful at navigating the law of the jungle than Putin. Putin himself created a world where the only thing that matters is success, Galimov added. And now the Americans have shown how it's done, while Putin's humiliation is obvious for everyone to see. Yeah, but it's unfair. I mean, I'm not defending Putin, not defending Trump here, but Trump entered the game with a different set of rules, right? Trump was like, I don't know, Trump, I'm trying to make a sports analogy. Thank you, Marcella. I'm trying to be good with my analogies. Trump was a freaking Michael Jordan Chicago Bulls, right? Putin, it will never reach that level. Just because it's the Chicago Bulls, right? They have such legacy. They have all that. I don't know. No, this is a bad analogy. I'm gonna stop. I'm sorry. I'm no sports ball person. But the point is that Trump and America play by different rules because we set the rules. Because America set the global rules. America created NATO. America created the World Trade Organization. America created the IMF, the International Monetary Fund. You know, these are all America created the United Nations, right? These are all the global accountability, global global administrative things, I guess, you know, so that way America could be like, yeah, we're not actually running the world. We just created these agencies that, you know, we all the countries that are part of it can, you know, pay into and we can all run it together. When in reality, it's just an American enforcing operation that doesn't, it's like a third party America enforcing operation. Where the world courts are not gonna I mean, they tried with the UN. They tried to put whatever out for Trump with his actions in doing what he did to Maduro in Venezuela, but they ain't gonna be able to arrest him. What country is gonna enforce that? So all right, that was the end of that article. I'm skeptical about Russia being green with envy, but I mean, I get it. They should know. Putin already knows. Putin is like two steps ahead of Trump. Putin knows that he is not going to get the same charitability in doing conflicts that America and Trump will get, you know? So it's bad. All right. Let's see. Oh yeah, we got to get into predictions now. Okay.
Also, with no real policies attached to it, Medicare for all and anti-Israel is a cheat code for elections. Okay. Democrats, but institutional Dems rally against it. What else did I have here?
Okay, hold on.
Yeah, I already said with the Epstein stuff, predictions. Okay, 2026 predictions. This is honestly going to be hard. The path to 2025 was so obvious. I don't think so. This part of the stream is sponsored by Kalshi. Oh, shut up. We're not doing that. Not even as a joke, okay? Anyway.
Okay, let me
please
pull up.
I get married. I want to be a wife guy so bad. Sure, Chatter, you're going to get married, even though you don't have a girlfriend right now. Okay, where do we get started? I mean, I think this is an easy one, but AI will get completely out of control.
Oh.
Not AGI style. But instead, it will lead to a massive issue. Okay? That was already
I can't wait to hear about the Hassan
hold
predictions.
on.
We're also going to look at a
That's not
couple
prediction,
other
that's an
streamers'
observation.
predictions
Many
too.
of these are an observation that is presented as prediction. Hold on. The one you said you got wrong kind of got right. Elon with Fallout with Trump was around not getting back in Tesla. What? No. The one I got wrong was PP. Was the Canada one. Okay? I mean catastrophic. Okay? A catastrophic issue. What I mean is there will be at least one major AI scandal.
Nah, chat. What are your predictions? What's your biggest prediction for 2026?
Bro, Grok is making CSAM? No, not even that.
Yeah.
Not even that. I'm talking bigger. Think bigger. Like there will be, because right now Grok making CSAM is not like, it should be a much bigger problem, right? But it's not. People are barely even talking about it. It's kind of ridiculous. When I say catastrophic, I mean like something that will literally at least dominate the news cycle for like a week. And that is probably the most, anything can dominate the news cycle nowadays. What I mean by that is like, there will be an AI video, I think, potentially, that leads to like real world impact. Okay? I mean like a fake AI video that dupes. A fake AI video that dupes so many people that like it actually has a real world impact.
That makes sense.
Okay? AI bubble will not burst.
Oh, really?
Now,
He
this is a
thinks
tough
the
one.
bubble's not
But I
going to
don't think- I don't-
burst? Because that was one of my things. I think the bubble will burst. Or people will realize that AI is not as valuable as it
bursting,
is.
Even
All
after
right.
that. China will continue to rise. The century of prosperity has begun. More people will become China-pilled
Oh, yeah. They already are.
as conditions in the U.S., in the West, worsen.
Okay, yeah.
But that is not even a prediction. It's like a free space one at least.
Okay, so that's already happening, he
People
says.
get less weird about China. I would say not people, normies.
Normies.
Normies will get less weird about China.
I think he should have said boomers.
Here's another free space. Grand Theft Auto 6 will be delayed.
It's terrible. The new Pokemon, Marcella said the new Pokemon game coming out this year will suck, but people will still buy it. That is the best prediction. Oh my god. Oh my god, yes. Okay, here, we'll write that down. If you can't see, check up in the chat area. That's where I got the thing filled out so far. Nintendo will disappoint with Pokemon, but will still have high sales. Yeah. All right. Thank you, Marcella.
Lying is even more OP than it's ever been,
Lying. Damn.
especially with AI.
Yeah, that's for sure.
People will openly admit to lying in a biased direction, and there will be no repercussions for it. Like right now.
Okay, so to contradict Hassan again, I get with that one. He's saying lying is more OP than it's ever been, and people can get away with lying more. I'm gonna predict that what is it? Gen Alpha? Hold on. Gen Alpha I'm gonna predict that they disconnect from the internet. Or maybe start to disconnect. Gen Alpha start to seek more, or hold on. Gen Alpha start to, no, just say disconnect from disconnect from social media. I feel like Gen Alpha and the maybe we'll say Gen Z and Alpha start to disconnect from social media. And then I'll put in parentheses, seeks more real world interaction. Because I genuinely think that's going to happen. IRL interactions. Okay.
Like right now, when you at least like, if you're outed as a liar or something, like people are supposed to trust you less, right? That's not the case.
Oh, really?
I'm calling it. You can just be like, no, I'm lying. Like the almost like remember what JD Vance did in the election cycle where he said, oh, I sometimes it's okay. Sometimes it's okay to lie as long as you're like getting people to pay attention to something. 100% that will happen way more frequently. Oh, I misspelled prosperity.
Okay, come on, Hassan.
People are going to get dumber, obviously.
Oh, yeah.
People are going to get even dumber and more hateful. But woke will make a comeback.
Does he really think woke will make a comeback in 26? I don't think so. I think we still have a couple more years of conservatism. People are going to get even dumber. I think I need another one about AI. I'm gonna say AI will render college degrees useless. And I think like employers will just start doing their own like IQ tests instead of hiring college degrees. Ugh. Employers create new metric. So yeah, that's what we'll say for that.
Due to Dems or liberals leading the pack, but because the average apolitical norm grossed out by the unlimited, unchecked hatred coming from the sweatiest losers that have hyped themselves up. So at least that's kind of good. Gavin Newsom Hitler arc. Oh, that's a good one. I do have something there. Don't worry.
Oh yes, we need to make a Gavin prediction. I know he's gonna run for. Okay, I'm gonna make a Gavin VP pick prediction, like early Gavin VP pick prediction. Let me see. Whoops. We'll do a couple different top. Here, wait, sorry, let me move this back over here. Gavin Newsom top VP presidential. Oh, but I mean the election's not going to even happen this time. Gavin Newsom, I still believe he's building his team. Gavin Newsom assembles his Trump Avengers. Avengers team. And the people that are gonna be on the team, I'm already calling Alex Padilla. And who else is gonna be on his team? Because that one lady lost. Okay, we'll work on that a little bit more.
And Kalshi Poly Market scandal. Yes, there will be a major gambling scandal as well.
Oh my God, yes.
At least one major gambling.
Yeah, at least one major gambling scandal. It's either gambling will get continue on, or it'll get banned.
Which, of course, will not lead to any policy changes. Gambling is going to be cancer with unlimited prediction markets bullshit. What else? Oh, false flag terror.
Oh my god, not the false flag stuff.
I mean, I hope it's not the case, but I do think I can see that.
Against America, homie? Against America? No comment. I see.
Hey Hassan, this is your Kalshi Rep. We're putting all these predictions on your market, but they're all going 67-1 odds again. Can you pick something more reasonable? Hakeem Jeffries joins DSA? Yeah, right.
Yeah, no, that's not happening.
Not a Venezuelan false flag? No.
See? American false flag. He's just not saying it.
Trump expands Latin American posturing. I don't think Trump is gonna, dude. This is gonna be a Russia-Ukraine situation, possibly. But
yeah, no, Trump is definitely gonna expand to Latin America.
Trump doesn't invade Venezuela.
Doesn't invade, and then they did. Damn.
Wait, where was I? I was talking about woke. Oh, woke. With woke making a comeback, but with corpos, children found to be as though that was like a massive W. And there is something in me. I hate being pessimistic about this stuff, but I do kind of feel like the Bernie-crats are not going to have as big as a wave, a big momentum.
The Bernie-crats? Cuba. I think...
Dems will predict a blue wave that will be a tiny blue drip, tiny blue puddle.
Nah.
That they will still.
I think Dems can still pull it off for 26. I think they still can turn the tides against Trump this year.
Down, attacking the Bernie-crat wing of the party too much to make serious gains. They'd rather kill democracy than harm profit margins. Then harm the profit margins of private healthcare providers. Then.
Okay, yeah.
We can really see the ES. I'm scared to write out because, like, not even because I think it's likely or anything, but the reason why I'm scared to write this out is because whenever I fucking say shit like this, the opposite happens. You know what I mean? If you know what I mean. Winky face.
Kash Patel fired or steps down.
What else? Kirsty Noem? Nah, she's fine. She stays put. Dan Bongino's already out. We don't annex Greenland.
Yeah, no. I don't know about Greenland.
Zoran prediction. I mean, I don't really know about the Zoran stuff. Zoran gets yelled at by the left flank for not being revolutionary enough.
Yeah, that's pretty accurate.
They misunderstood a policy. I love the Zoran thing is so funny. It's like AOCIA. AOCIA. They're gonna say Massadani now. I invented it. Remember. Hassan wants to be a Maoist poster so bad. I do. I think the Maoist standard English is so good. Hassan Log's actual good one. Virus lockdown due to CDC and municipal health rollbacks. You think there's going to be a lockdown?
No, there's
Are
not.
you crazy? You could literally have Omega COVID killing people, every day by the dozens. And this administration will be like, it's illegal to stay at home. Okay? Underrated piece of Maoist standard English is Bernie Settlers. Instead of Bernie Sanders, Bernie Settlers. That's awesome. Speaking out against like right-wing shit publicly. Maybe even against like Asmongold and whatnot, which would be, Oh, dude, I have a whole thing for Jews and Muslims, okay? Don't worry.
No.
I have a whole bracket for predictions on Jews and Muslims. Okay. Number 1. You just reminded me. Okay. Terms like goy slop get mass usage by normies. So people will be both woke, but also at the same time, like, lookism, looks maxing, all this shit is totally fucking in broad use. And in a way where it's like, in a way where it's almost like they're like the people that use it. It's kind of like new friend, right? When someone says new friend, the remainder of it.
Let's see terms. Okay. Anti-Semitism. The remainder.
Institutional stigma. I think that's definitely another one of these. Mao was friends with Kissinger. I would watch her very carefully.
Oh my God.
That's
terrible.
Funny. Yeah. Are you friends with Henry Kissinger? I feel like she was kind of sad when Henry Kissinger passed.
Oh my God.
But yes. You will see sloppier journalism in general. Okay?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Anti-Semitism loses the remainder of its institutional stigma as Jews move closer to losing white status.
Yeah.
Controlled by Republicans. Because they are the ones who dictate whether you're white or not, let's be real.
Yeah.
I don't think Donald Trump, maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think Donald Trump is going to be able to successfully denaturalize and deport Somali people. Right? Really? 9/11? Wait, yeah, in the absence of... Dude, Heidi, think about how much they pumped the 9/11 shit against Zoran. Dems rally against it. What else? What else did I have?
Dems pivot to anti-APAC, but still retain some donors and same attitudes towards Israel. Yeah, Dems refuse to adopt Medicare for all policy. Float public opinion with no real interest in implementation. They claim affordability with no real policy. Okay.
Up here. Yeah, I already said with the Epstein stuff, I said the right will try to normalize pedophilia.
Haven't they already been?
Try to normalize pedophilia. Actually, ephebophilia.
Stupid.
Bophilia? How do you spell that? Fuck. What else? Oh, skinny jeans making a comeback.
Skinny jeans making a comeback? No way.
Back to indie sleaze cycle.
No.
For fashion. Maybe next year.
No, skinny jeans will not come back.
Is coming back, let's say, because it's not going to come back this year.
No, it'll be 27, 28.
Like you'll see more and more celebrities rocking skinny jeans. And then 2027 probably is when skinny jeans will make a full comeback.
Hassan does not know about fashion. I'm sorry. Woke makes a comeback. Right-wing content creators who don't lean into it fall off. Right-wing infighting continues. Asman makes centrist pivot on a lot of issues. Ben Shapiro refuses to play token self-hating anti-Semite and fully falls off even though Barry Weiss tried to offer a lifeline to him. Daily Wire collapses.
Due to decentralized nature of right slop / demands of anti-Semitism, Matt Walsh goes indie and hits levels of anti you've never even seen before. Not sure who will replace her though.
Tucker is top dog. NF reigns in some of his anti-Israel. Nick Fuentes. reins in some of his anti-Israel sentiment while keeping some anti-Semitism in effort to gain more motion with institutional power. Also goes on Joe Rogan Experience. Wow, I don't know if Nick Fuentes would go on Joe Rogan Experience, but maybe.
Takes a back shot from JD Vance. Stop. Dude. Okay, here's a crazy one. This is my last one. This is a crazy prediction. Okay, probably not gonna happen. TPUSA, CBS, CNN merged under Ellison banner.
Damn. Maybe.
And not gonna happen, but you know, this is a wild card one. Okay, Dems will predict a blue wave that will be like a tiny blue puddle. They will underperform. That they will still consider a massive W when it's not. They will get bogged down attacking the Bernie crab wing of the party too much to make serious gains. They'd rather kill democracy than harm the profit margins of private healthcare companies. Dems pivot to anti-APAC, but still retain same donors and same attitude towards Israel. Max Fealty. Dems refuse to adopt M4A as a policy, Medicare for all as a policy, flow public option with no real interest in implementation. They claim affordability with no real policies attached to it. Medicare for all.
Okay. We got Hassan's complete take. I want to hear Michael from Pennsylvania's take.
It's the year of the fire horse. Xi said we're going to charge ahead like a horse. I think it's going to be a good year. Politics predictions. Democrats are going to win the House and tie the Senate. I think they're going to win Maine, North
Yeah, Democrats win the House, tie the Senate. That sounds about right.
Carolina and Ohio, but they're going to lose Texas again and Iowa again. Trump approval dipping below 30% by the end of the year. My presidential frontrunners are AOC, Gavin Newsom, and the centrist pick is Josh Shapiro. Zoran is going to pass the rent freeze, get childcare. He's not going to have free buses, but he's going to improve the speed and reliability.
Why? I feel like free buses would be the easiest thing to do. That would be easier than doing the rent freeze. I don't know.
Of routes, and the city-owned grocery stores will be successful. Joe Biden is going to die from natural causes.
Oh my God.
Plattner is going to win in Maine, by the way. Trump is going to have a major medical scare himself. Left-wing candidates do really well in the primaries. I don't think they win everywhere, but I think going to have a lot of cool left-wingers. Kash Patel is fired. The U.S. is going to make the quarterfinals in the World Cup. Spain's going to win. Argentina is going to be the most overrated.
No, yeah, Argentina's done.
At the round of 16. Messi is not going to...
Wait. I didn't know that the World Cup was happening this year.
To be able to carry, sorry. Trump pardons Ghislaine Maxwell. It's
Yeah.
happening.
I wish her well.
VO predicts that Trump is going to die in September from natural causes. As
Wow.
much as I think that prediction makes sense, he's also the president, so they're monitoring him so much.
24/7.
that I would be shocked if he actually died. I think it's the year of the right-wing fall-off. Dark woke, dirtbag left rises further. The left is coming back, except we're meaner. Is it going to be the dark woke Gavin Newsom types? Or is it
No.
going to be the dirtbag left types? Is it going to be Francesca Hong, or is it going to be Gavin Newsom's? You know what
It's going to be Gavin Newsom's. Gavin Newsom's is powerful.
I mean? Who can be meaner to the right? I think the Russia-Ukraine war will finally end.
End?
Ukraine will give up the Donbass. They will pledge not to join NATO. They won't join the EU. And their country is going to be in dire straits over having to pay back European and IMF loans. They're going to have to privatize more. China is not invading Taiwan this year. China continues to decarbonize faster than expected. China pulls ahead in the AI race. China manufactures a chip using its ultraviolet prototype. Continues to annex territory. Continues the genocide. U.S. keeps bombing Venezuela. No ground invasion. There is some sort of CIA agent are going to get caught. It's going to be a scandal. And no regime change. I don't think Maduro falls. I do think the United States bombs Iran again at some point. And overall, it's a tough year for incumbents and politics worldwide. I think the AI
that was
bubble
last year
finally
too.
bursts because the U.S. can't generate enough electricity. U.S. inflation stays high even as the economy falters. Stagflation risk grows. I think the housing markets finally start to deflate as more enter default. Fed is too slow to rate cuts because of inflation risk, and commercial real estate is in deep trouble. And I think the car market's going to crash. I think car prices are going to crash like crazy this year.
Nah.
All right, those are my predictions.
Nah, we're going to go back to producing internal combustion engines if we can't get AI. I mean, if we can't get lithium batteries for cars, we'll just go back to doing. That's what Americans want anyways. No one wanted EV cars. We all wanted gas guzzlers. Someone said Australia is going to beat US in the World Cup. Okay. So those were the two predictions that I definitely wanted to hear. But yeah, here, let's go to Twitter and post my predictions. Okay. Hopefully I have enough space. These are just going to be my raw predictions. We'll just leave it as is. This is all that I could think of in the past few weeks that I've been doing it. Here we go. Upgrade to premium to write longer posts and articles. 26 predictions. Will disappoint with Pokemon, but still have high sales. Let's just say Nintendo will disappoint, period. But we'll still have high sales. AI bubble will bust. Here, let's just say that. Sounds good with Nintendo, thank you. You know what? We're just gonna do multi-post then, I guess. Hold on. We'll delete that. Copy this again. Okay. And then we'll just put this into a separate post. See, delete. Add a thing. There we go. Trump regime continue Latin American expansion into Cuba. I would say Cuba and Colombia would be the first countries he would go into. I don't think he would go into Mexico. That'll be my one thing. Does not go for Mexico. Let's not go for Mexico. Here, wait, let me put that up here. And we will cut and paste. Does not go for Mexico, Cuba, and Colombia first. All right. Any other things? I mean, we could always add more later in this thread. I think, yeah, AI will render college degrees useless. Employers create new metric. Gen Z and Alpha start to disconnect from social media. Yeah, let's see. Well, I feel like we need some man stuff, like manosphere stuff. You know how 2025, what it means to be a man in 2025. I'll say, men continue to, no, we'll say men, no, hold on. We'll say manosphere. Manosphere. Manosphere completely falls apart, or they get absorbed into something else, like, I don't know, or they go woke. Woke, and by woke it just means like they're normal. Woke, okay, let's add that in there. Okay. All right. Those are my predictions these are my Hasanabi predictions, pre-watch Piker predictions. I'm trying to think of something else. I'll add to it later, you know. Okay, post all. Here, let me share the post in chat. Here, let's see. Pin to profile. Thank you. How do you share shit? Share? There we go. Copy link. Okay. There we go, everyone. This will be my Twitter post. Okay. All right. I think we are done for today. We covered all the topics I wanted to cover, so that was pretty good. Next time we will definitely have a more organized broadcast. This was kind of last minute, and we are still we're still getting into the swing of the new year, so let's play some outro music. Sounds good. Thank you, Marcella, for joining us. I think we had a good time today. Everyone take care. Have a good rest of your day. It's been fun. So yeah, tune in probably tomorrow. I'm gonna try to stream tomorrow for sure. Tune in tomorrow, and we'll continue with more politics. We'll definitely jump more into Inland Empire politics too. I need to do some research before the next show. So have a good night, everyone. Peace out.